Anyway, pass along those suggestions free to our next guest. Eric Horner is a recording artist, been a frequent guest here at the American Family Association. And Eric has a real heart for the troops, providing encouragement and support for the troops. And Eric's involved. This is, I believe, the second or third year that you've done this project, Eric, to provide real encouragement in a very tangible way for soldiers that are at Fort Campbell in Kentucky. So welcome, Eric, and tell us about this project, Operation Tank Full of Love.
Well, good afternoon. Hey, I need to get a license on some of those hymns. That sounds like some pretty good songs to me. Oh, man. This will be our third year to present Operation Tank Full of Love to our men and women who serve at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And we're just really excited. We've got a bunch of volunteers coming up from the West Kentucky area. And it's just going to be a great day of just sharing the love of Christ with those who are willing to defend our freedom, who are willing to lay down their lives for our freedom.
So tell us what you're going to do on that day. It's called Tank Full of Love. So I'm assuming that obviously this is going to be a way to express our love for our men and women in uniform. And it has something to do with tanks and something to do with full tanks. So tell us exactly what this project's all about.
Well, what we're going to do, we'll start at about 9 a.m. and we'll be joined by many volunteers. And I guess it was probably 4 years ago. There's a truck stop there on Interstate 24 between Nashville and Paducah, Kentucky. Paducah is my hometown, and we've ministered in many churches up there. So there's this truck stop that we always stop at to put fuel in the bus. And about 4 years ago, I got out, and as I looked across the parking lot, I saw about I guess it was about 8 soldiers that were out there getting their gas. And I just remember having the thought, I'd give anything if I had the means to just go, put my card in every one of those pumps and say, it's on me today, soldier. Thank you for serving. And the Lord just planted a seed with me that day for something called Operation Tank Full of Love. And we will be meeting the soldiers at the gas pumps and purchasing some gas for them to say thank you for their service. And depending on the number of volunteers that we have, and I think it's going to be many, we'll have folks out there greeting the soldiers. Soldiers that come through will receive gift bags with goodies in them, and just most importantly, just to let them know how appreciated and loved they really are. And it's just a tangible way, I think, to be Jesus to those who are out there defending our freedom.
And what day is this, Eric, going to take place?
It's going to happen on Saturday, September the 14th.
September the 14th. So we're coming right up on that.
Yep. We're getting into Shore Road.
Yeah.
I have to say thank you to all of the AFR listeners. We've had many of them respond so far who wanted to take part in this. And we're going to be fundraising up until the very last minute. If you want to join us in blessing the soldiers of the 101st Airborne, it's real easy to do. We have a web page set up. It's www.tankfuloflove.com, and you can go there and learn more about the event. And there's a way to, I think through PayPal is how it's done, is you can make a donation, or there's a number you can call, our toll-free number, which is 877-968-3742. Again, 877-968-3742, and we would love to hear from you. It's I think it's a very worthwhile endeavor, and just we can't say thank you enough to those who serve in our military, and this is just a good way to do that, I think.
Well, and people can think, Eric, well, that's up in Kentucky. I don't live in Kentucky. I live in Texas. I live in Alabama. I live in Iowa. I live in Minnesota. But the reality is Fort Campbell's a pretty sizable base, and the truth of the matter is, Eric, the soldiers that are serving there, they come from all over the United States. So no matter where somebody lives in this country, this is an opportunity to show some tangible appreciation to our men and women in uniform.
You're exactly right. And we actually, one of the things we've been talking about with our AFR family is we'd like to see this thing grow. It doesn't have to be just isolated to Fort Campbell. If you're listening and you attend a church anywhere close to a military base, you could take this on as an outreach project yourself. We would be glad to give any kind of guidance that you might need to get you started. I would love to see this just break out at military bases all across America. It's just a random act of love for those who serve.
So that's going to be September 14. That's just 9 days from now. So there's opportunity to make a donation, make a contribution to help with this. There'll be volunteers on the ground there at Fort Campbell that'll pump the gas. And what Eric is looking for is those that are willing to make a contribution of any amount, generous contribution of any amount, a small contribution to help this project go forward. You can go to tankfuloflove.com, tankfuloflove.com. You can also call to make a donation at 877-968-3742. That's 877-968-3742. Well, this exciting project you've got going, Eric, I'm glad that God has put this on your heart, and we'll hope and pray that God will give you all the resources you need to bless a lot of soldiers on September 14.
Well, we appreciate the support so much, and we'll be giving reports back on how it's going. And please, if you're listening, just please call in or visit our webpage and just be a part of blessing the soldiers at Fort Campbell. I guarantee you it is very much worth doing. And
one last question, Eric, for people that would like to find out more information about your music ministry, where can they go to find out more about you?
They can learn anything they want to learn about us at erichorner.com. Just www.erichorner.com. Our tour schedule's up there, our biography, any question anybody might have about us can be answered right there.
All right, our guest has been Eric Horner, recording artist. You can find out more about him at erichorner.com, and heading up the Tank Full of Love ministry to provide some real tangible expression of love and care and support to our troops. tankfuloflove.com, coming up on September 14. Go to that website and make a donation. Or call 877-968-3742. Well, thank you, Eric, very much. God bless you.
Thank you, Brian.
Eric Horner, tankfuloflove.com. What a great opportunity to show some real tangible expressions of love to our troops. Now, I want to open up the phone lines. We can talk about Obamacare. We can talk about the troops. We're going to start talking about Syria here in just a moment. 888-589-8840 is the number to call if you have some questions about that. I have a lot to talk about with regard to Syria, but one of the stories that just came to my attention this morning, not too long before I came across the street to come to the studio, is what may be some of the political backstory to what's going on here. I'm looking at a piece at zerohedge.com, and what this writer, Michael Snyder, he writes for the Economic Collapse blog, and he says, this whole thing over there in Syria, this could all be about natural gas. This whole thing, the reason Russia's involved in this, the reason Iran is involved in this, the reason Saudi Arabia has an interest in this, the reason Qatar has an interest in this, is because Qatar would like to put a natural gas pipeline to get their gas to Europe, and they got to go through Syria to do it, and Syria has not been willing to play ball. Here's what Michael Snyder says. Could it be because Qatar is the largest exporter of liquid natural gas in the world, and Assad won't let them build a natural gas pipeline through Syria? So Qatar being resisted by Assad, and Russia's got an interest in getting this pipeline not built because they want to have control of the European market. If this pipeline gets built across Syria, then Qatar can get their gas to Syria, and they'll be in direct competition with Russia. So you want to know why Russia is backing Assad? They want to keep Qatar's natural gas out of Europe, so they've got a monopoly on the European market. And Snyder goes on, Qatar wants to install a puppet regime in Syria that will allow them to build a pipeline which will enable them to sell lots and lots of gas to Europe. Now, Saudi Arabia is out there. They're spending money to help the rebels. And Saudi Arabia would like to put their own puppet government in there to allow the Saudis to control the flow of energy through the region. So the Saudis would like to be in charge. They're not getting any cooperation from Assad, so they'd like to get rid of him and install their own puppet regime and take control of the flow of fossil fuels across Syria. So they're helping the rebels. They're supporting the rebels. Qatar wants to get rid of Assad because Assad's keeping them from building their pipeline to get gas to Europe. You've got Russia propping up Assad. That's why Putin is rattling his sabers. And, I mean, they're sending warships. I've got a story here about Russia sending 3 warships through the Bosphorus into the Mediterranean. So you're starting to get the Mediterranean Sea filling up with warships from both the United States and from Russia. I don't know where I got that story in here somewhere. Let me see if I can grab that about the Russians sending ships into the Mediterranean. Russian warships cross Bosphorus en route to Syria. 3 Russian warships crossed Turkey's Bosphorus Strait Thursday en route to the eastern Mediterranean near the Syrian coast. So that could be some of the backstory about why Russia prefers Assad. You know, they like Assad because he's blocking the flow of natural gas out of the Persian Gulf into Europe. So this is higher profits then for their nationalized petroleum company, Gazprom. So if the U.S. can get rid of Assad, it'll be good either for the Saudis or for Qatar and be really, really bad for Russia. Focal Point, AFR Talk, back in 2.